My ongoing study of Cubism has greatly informed the way that I construct my paintings. And I've talked about this before, but I think a lot of the Cubist ideas, and a lot of the ideas of modern painting for that matter, have some of their genesis in the later works of Tiepolo. But to bring it back to Cubism, I'm interested in what Robert Rosenblum refers to as bending the laws of nature to fit the laws of art. The laws of nature being real light and real volume, forcing those to exist on a flat, artificial, two-dimensional surface, the laws of painting, is fascinating to me. And I love observing the way that Cubism takes a foothold in American painting. I think more so synthetic Cubism rather than analytical Cubism. That notion of taking apart an image or an experience or a place and then reassembling it into a coherent series of experiences into an image which has the confluence of many sources, from popular culture, from printing, from music. You see that extended into Stuart Davis and then on into Robert Rauschenberg. This is a painting from 1915 by Max Weber called Chinese Restaurant. I love this painting. And this one has greatly informed some of the new paintings that I'm working on at the moment. I like in this painting that it feels like if you were to take a deck of playing cards and just scatter them out on a table. The space is constructed in that sort of random stacking from back to front. Everything is angled and sort of twisted and random. Similar to the way that I'm working in this painting, where I want it to feel almost like the guts of the painting are being pushed out toward the viewer. Almost like a glove turned inside out in that kind of kind of random and stacked and very ebullient fashion. Very different from a more linear type of stacking of space, which you may see in Roman wall painting like this, or in an example by George Caleb Bingham. A much more linear and horizontal, like a stage. There's a bottom and then there's a middle and a top, like steps, which gives a feeling of static, sort of sculptured solidity, and also a great feeling of volumetric weight and gravity and lack of movement. But I love the notion that in a Cubist painting, even though it may allude to what happened before and it may suggest what's about to happen, the real detonation, the guts, the objectness of the image is in the present always. No matter when you come back to it, no matter when it's painted, it's always eternally in the present. It's crackling and sparkling right before you. Like a buoy floating on the ocean. There's stuff happening below, there's stuff happening above, but the objectness is still floats right there on the surface, on the tissue of the water, on the surface. This past spring, the whole art world here in New York was abuzz about the late Rembrandt portrait from 1661, on loan from the Kenwood collection outside of London to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's an extraordinary painting, one in front of which I spent probably a good 2 hours over the course of a couple of sessions, just gobsmacked at how adeptly and poetically he manages to fuse together the conceptual rigor of the painting with the brush marks themselves. That's extremely hard to do, that the image and the object are the same thing, that the paint is not in service of the image, the paint is the image. It's what Morandi does so beautifully, and it's what I'll spend the rest of my life aspiring to. And one of my favorite parts of the painting was the hat. This perfect basket of brushstrokes on top of his head. One of the most structurally sound moments in all of painting that I've ever seen. And I took a photo of it with my phone, which we'll put up here on the screen for you to see. It sits over his brow like some kind of emblem, like a mangled halo, which doesn't signify life in eternity, but the unconditional commitment to the industry of being an artist right here on Earth. I felt a great deal of pride in front of this painting, almost as if he was if he was looking at all of us painters there, almost with a wink that he's one of us, that the commitment to a life, how one crafts a life as an artist, how one protects that life, and how one goes through that arc of a lifetime as an artist. I felt a great deal of familial pride almost in front of that painting. You know how when you haven't seen someone you love in a long time, you hug them like a bear hug, really tight, a warm, unbreakable embrace. That's the feeling I got in front of this painting. And the painting to me doesn't look like art, it looks like work. And that's kind of what I want to talk about over the next couple of minutes is the industry of what we do. Chuck Close has that great quote, "Inspiration is for amateurs, the rest of us just show up and work." And I have that written down on my wall, and every time I cross the portal into my studio, I'll often think of that quote. That every day, or as many days as possible, I show up here and I work, and I work, and I make tons of mistakes, and there are huge disasters. It doesn't matter, no one sees them, they just get covered up. But what is consistent is my devotion to the process, to the work. Robert Henry, in The Art Spirit, his beautiful book, says something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, someone once described a work of art as something beautifully done. A thing is not beautifully done, the beauty arises in it having been done. I love that because it puts the onus on the process. Beauty, I don't think beauty just arises. I think beauty has to be worked at. It has to be crafted and molded. And if you've watched any of these videos, you've probably heard me talk about my love of magic, of stage magic. It's not unique to me. A lot of my painter friends are also obsessed with magic. And what I'm attracted to is not the final reveal or the punchline of the trick at the end, but the little series of deceptions along the way, where the magician doesn't overtly deceive you. The magician sets up a series of conditions allowing you to deceive yourself. That to me is beautiful. Taking something extremely difficult and making it look effortless to me is what an artist does. And I take great comfort in the fact that over the last 35 plus years, I've devoted myself to learning how to draw, learning how to use color, how to construct paintings. And while I was doing that, the magician was learning how to misdirect. And somebody else was learning radiology, and somebody else was studying economics, and somebody else was learning how to make jelly donuts. It doesn't matter what the end product is. It's that verifiable commitment to the craft, to the work, that I value so much. And that's what I want to be evident in my paintings when someone looks at them. The evidence of the process, of the work that goes into it. And I want to leave it just raw and unfinished enough to where the viewer is implicated and has to finish the painting themselves in an active, not a passive way. That the painting is simply a mediator between two identities, one of the viewer and the other of the artist. In the present, in kind of a kinetic, electric enacting of place, right there and right now. And that to me is so beautifully embodied in that Rembrandt painting.